My name is Ryan Williams. I am a senior lecturer at the University of Queensland, which is located in Brisbane in Australia. So I've been a sociologist and anthropologist of religion for 10, 12 years now, and I've been really gravitating towards Islam. And so I've studied contemporary Islam, studied contemporary issues around Muslims in society, and I've been migrating now to study Muslims and science and how Muslims relate to science in their everyday experiences. And it wasn't until very recently that I finally got some seed funding to pursue this project that's very dear to my heart, that's on Muslims and science and their everyday lived experiences. Being based at the University of Queensland in Australia, I've been looking at Muslims locally. Now, Islam is something that isn't really on the radar when it comes to Australian society. If you ask ordinary Australians, they'll think that it's very much a migrant religion, and it is in part, but Australian Muslims have been in the country for about 5 or 6 generations, in fact. And so my sample size was about 50 Muslims located within southeast Queensland. I conducted interviews with them, asked them all about their life experiences related to Islam as Muslims, and then their relationship to science and what they know about science. And we got into some pretty interesting and topical themes around bioethics, around medical practice, around gender, around sex identities, and also the environment. And so I've been interested in how they use science to legitimize their own faith practices. And to an extent, I found that was the case. Now, what I can offer as a caveat to that is that Muslims are extremely diverse. And so my sample was diverse. I had people from studying science who were scientists, proper scientists, studying engineering, studying medicine. And what I found was that for many of these Muslims, they found that science helped them to legitimize their faith. And so they found that there was a lot of scientific truths that aligned with what Islam was saying. And for them, that confirmed for them their faith. And that helped them to be quite intentional and deliberate about it. So there's pretty significant differences between people, Muslims who were born Muslims in Australia, those who were born in Australia, and those who had migrated recently. One of these differences is related to their faith journey. So many of the Muslims who were born in Australia ended up going through the ups and downs of faith. They ended up rediscovering their faith, and science was quite integral to that rediscovery. For those who migrated recently or who were in Australia temporarily, I just noticed that they spoke about supernatural events in very different ways that the local Muslims in Australia did not. And so the jinn, for example, many immigrant Muslims would speak of jinn, but they seemed to only reside in their home countries, except for a few others where as soon as they arrived, they would have experiences of jinn. Things like science is a theory. Science presents theories, but only God knows, and that there are things beyond this world that we simply don't have access to. As Muslims, they would point to the infallibility of the Quran and the Hadiths, and so they would recognize that that world put forward in the Quran and the Hadiths was total and complete. This research was really part of seed funding, and so this was an opportunity for me to think through some of the questions that I wanted to explore. The interviews were very broad-based, and I think as a pilot, I think it was overwhelmingly successful. I think it's allowed me to articulate the kinds of questions we need to be asking. So it's been a very interesting experience to learn about their worldviews in deeper, richer ways. And in fact, that's what's always attracted me to studying religion, is to enter into the world of the other. And I think learning about Muslims and science has made me reflect on, I guess, my own views, what I think is true. I think it's really made me kind of appreciate that we're all on these sort of the same human journeys, and I've actually found a lot of similarities. mean, we talk about this in research, you don't want to reduce the other to the same as yourself, but there's been a healthy distance there as well that's continued to spark my curiosity. So I've been learning loads through this, and everybody's been so diverse, and I really appreciate that.